"Mom, maybe you should move in with us," my son said to me on my granddaughter's first birthday. I felt a rush of panic in my chest. Fear. "We're just worried about you with Dad gone," he whispered again, and I felt my stomach twist into a knot, my entire world like a wave crashing down on me. Earlier that morning, I did something scary, something I'd never forget, something my son couldn't even bring himself to say. Finally, awkwardly, I open my mouth and mumble, "Don't be silly. I feel a little foggy at times, that's all." "Mom, it runs in your family," he blurts out with desperation in his voice. I could tell he was scared, that I wasn't hiding it as well as I hoped. But things changed so quickly, like it snuck up on me. Just a few years ago, I felt crisp and energized. I would look at some of the women I know and think, what an old lady. I'm 59, so I can say that, but I didn't feel old. Sure, I had wrinkles and my hair had turned gray, but truth be told, I still felt like I was 39. I'd sit down at yoga and look at women half my age and see them struggling, while I felt as fit as a fiddle. And it might sound a tad immodest of me to say, but men in their 30s and 40s would even flirt with me. I know it sounds silly, but I loved the attention, the feeling that I was still somebody, that there was still potential for excitement and yearning and adventure, and I'd think of the trips to Paris and Greece and Venice that I was still yet to take, and the tennis matches I'd play, and heck, maybe I'd learn Spanish for fun and volunteer out in Bali. Eat, pray, love, isn't that what they say? A smile would bloom on my face, and I'd think, wow, these really are the golden years. But then, something strange started happening. Instead of being the quick-witted one, I just felt a step behind. Like at work, I'd be in a circle with my coworkers, and I just couldn't keep up with them. I'd find myself struggling to locate words I'd want to use, like vigilant. It took me a full day to remember it, and the worst part was they noticed. Sure, they were too polite to say anything, but I'd be in the middle of telling a story, and I'd catch them giving a look. You know the look, like, what is this old lady talking about? Or someone would ask me a question, and I'd feel like a deer in headlights, totally lost for a second, stumbling to gather my thoughts. And when I got home, instead of going on the long walks like I used to, the couch just felt more and more inviting. I looked in the mirror at the 20 pounds I had gained, the spare tire that had engulfed my waist. Why did I find it so hard to drag myself to the gym? Why didn't I have the willpower to eat right? Why were the cobwebs in my head so thick I'd need 3 cups of coffee to read the morning paper? It was like my brain was broken. So, just for precaution, because 2 of my aunts had died of Alzheimer's, my doctor ran some tests, and I remember the relief I felt when he said, "We don't see any plaque." That relief turned to dread soon enough, because if Alzheimer's is worse than this, I couldn't begin to imagine what life would be like. I thought about my Aunt Jill, only 67 when it struck, and within a few years, she was wearing diapers and couldn't remember her own daughter's name. Or my other Aunt Elaine, who hid it from us for years until her depression got so bad that she wouldn't leave the house, wouldn't answer her phone. She'd just sit on the couch watching Jeopardy, angrily shouting answers at the TV. I thought about the fog I felt, and how unbearable it would be if it got thicker, if it became more constant. I thought of my grandchildren, and how disappointed they are when I don't have the energy to chase them around, or the sad look on their face when they realize my mind drifted, and I stopped paying attention to the story they were so excited to share. What if I forget who they are? Or what if I just became the mean old lady to them, like my aunt had become to her grandkids when her illness set in? While my doctors wanted to write me a clean bill of health, it didn't change the fact that something was wrong. My friends just say, "Welcome to 60." But I think of women like Oprah and how sharp she still sounds at 67. And me, I get exhausted just thinking about juggling her life. Or Meryl Streep, who's 71 years old and can still remember her lines. And I think, could I do that? And the honest answer is no. I'm lucky if I remember where I put my keys, or to call my friend Lauren back, or the dentist appointment I completely forgot about last week. It's just stress, my best friend Barbara said as she hugged me as I sobbed. Barbara, whose idea of a fun Friday night is a Hallmark movie and being in bed by 8 p.m., and who could easily sit for hours on the couch, knitting a new pair of pajamas, hasn't exercised since the 1980s. Barbara's old, not me. I so desperately want to believe. Maybe it's time to just accept you're no spring chicken anymore, she said, and then reluctantly added, but maybe it is worth seeing another doctor for a second opinion, just in case. I lay there at night, struggling to sleep, feeling so old. I forced myself to dredge up long-lost memories to see if they were still crisp and clear, and soon my thoughts turned to Aunt Jill again, and how one night, just before we realized something was wrong, she had a light shining in her eyes as she talked about her long walks with her husband Fred and how he was finally about to retire and all the plans they had, the trips they'd take, the way she talked about the future, full of such hope, such optimism, never realizing what was silently lurking just beneath the surface, ready to unleash hell into her life, to turn Fred into a nurse, to turn her into a ghost. I thought of her gradual decline, how it started with names and dates, misplacing things, how she left a pan on the stove and almost set fire to her kitchen, the way everyone started whispering, the scared, broken look on Fred's face as he slowly accepted what his retirement had become. And for a second, again I felt relief, remembering the doctor showing me my scans were clean. But then I thought of my father, and how even though the doctors continually told him he was as healthy as a horse, he had just seemed to shrink when he hit 60, and how he spent more and more time watching TV, how he gave up on his hobbies, how he lost interest in his friends, how the trip to Hawaii he always dreamed of kept getting postponed because he didn't have the energy. I remember him telling me one day, Beth, take care of yourself now, because when you're old, you'll wish you did. And at the time, I remember thinking, I do take care of myself. I go to the YMCA a few times a week. I quit smoking years ago. Sure, I'm a few pounds overweight, but nothing worse than most women I know. And I thought about losing my job and having to start over, and I wanted to sob, picturing my boss walking me into a room and making some lame excuse for letting me go, instead of honestly telling me that I couldn't hack it anymore, that I was past my prime, or worse, that I was embarrassing myself, embarrassing the company. And then I thought of myself effortlessly flirting with John, the wallpaper guy, wondering, where did that woman go? And I wanted her back. I wanted her body, her energy and enthusiasm and passion and drive, and most of all, her clarity, her ability to just talk without worrying about fumbling her words, without wondering if I was going to slip up again. Hello, it's Daryl, the kind, gentle voice said on the other line. Daryl was the best-selling author of a book on brain health and had a following of over 100,000 men and women who swore by his advice. He was also the survivor of a horrible bike accident that almost killed him, gave him multiple concussions that led to anxiety, depression, and post-traumatic stress disorder that nearly ruined his marriage and his career. On top of that, he had been living with multiple sclerosis since he was 22 years old. So he was no stranger to brain issues, and now after clawing his way back to health, making a full recovery from his accident, and getting his MS completely under control, not just back to normal, but thriving, healthy, and more active and alive, and in better shape than he was in his 20s. He was now the lead researcher in a top brain health and nutrition company. I couldn't believe I got him on the phone. "So you don't have MS," he said, somewhat surprised. "My doctors haven't found anything," I said. He got quiet and I got scared he thought I was wasting his time, like my case isn't serious enough for him. "I just don't know what to do. Everything is falling apart. And more than anything, I'm scared it's going to get worse. I'm scared this is just the beginning." I told him the whole story about my slip-ups at work, declining energy levels, lack of clarity, and how I feared I'd wind up like my two aunts with Alzheimer's, or even my father, who had given up on life way too young. "Listen, Beth, I feel for you. I can see you're struggling, and I want to help you. I do. But do you want me to tell you what you want to hear, or do you want me to tell you the truth?" I felt confused. His voice had a fatherly tone to it, but I almost felt like I was about to be reprimanded. I've been doing this a long time. I've helped a lot of women, a lot of men, and one thing that is shockingly apparent, and I admit I was guilty of this myself," he said with a hint of sadness in his voice, "is most people don't start worrying about their brain health until it's too late." I started to panic. Was he telling me it was too late? Then he went on. "Sure, they make jokes about senior moments, or maybe for a month they'll take fish oil pills, but mostly they'll just put it out of their mind or chalk it up to getting older, like your friend Barbara does. So I'm glad you're being proactive. Most people ignore the problem until it's past the point of no return," he said. I felt warmth radiate through the phone. "Now I've got good news and bad news. Which do you want first?" I shrugged my shoulders and muttered, "Bad news." The bad news is, while most people are worrying about their weight or their blood sugar or cholesterol, cognitive decline has an insidious way of sneaking up on us. Even when it doesn't lead to dementia, it robs us of our youth, energy, concentration, and joy. And as you've experienced, the mental fatigue leads to less exercise and less control over what we eat, causing us to gain weight and even snowball into things like diabetes or heart disease. When I asked you if you were being healthy, you mentioned doing yoga, and that's great. But what are you doing specifically for your most important organ, your brain? And then he went silent. The answer was nothing. He already knew it. I could tell he had this conversation many times before. I tried to defend myself, explaining how my doctor never recommended anything except to eat more berries. But for some reason, berries never made it into my fridge, and the few times they did, they went bad before I remembered to eat them. "Berries are great, Beth, but they are just a small piece of the puzzle," he said. "In a minute, I'm going to tell you exactly what you should be doing to support your brain in the best way you possibly can, and how you can actually rewind your energy levels and improve your concentration, focus, and mood, so you can feel mentally young with a clarity you haven't felt in ages. So you can shed that unwanted weight and take walks and play tennis like I know your mind and body so desperately crave." Now, without getting too scientific, he broke down how our brain faces 3 big challenges as we age. First, he said, your friend Barbara had it right. Stress is negatively linked with brain health, and unfortunately, the average person is suffering from an overload of the stress hormone cortisol, which is toxic and corrosive to brain cells when it becomes chronically elevated. And what's worse is that the embarrassment and frustration that goes along with brain fog just creates more stress, wreaking even more havoc on your brain. This is also what makes your 3 cups of coffee morning routine so dangerous. While coffee gives you a quick burst of energy, too much of it spikes your cortisol level and creates a vicious cycle where you continually need to drink more just to feel normal again. I nodded my head. I knew that feeling well, the 3 p.m. crash where I'd want to just crawl under my desk at work. It was starting to make sense. Next is inflammation. You've probably already heard how inflammation plays a critical role in almost every disease in your body, right? From cancer to heart disease and even depression. Well, brain fog is a hallmark symptom of neuroinflammation. This is what causes you to feel foggy, dull, and slow. Brain inflammation is serious because it means nerve cells in the brain are dying. He explained how although berries are amazing for your brain, most of the berries you find in the store are smothered in pesticides, and how the pesticides found on almost all the fruits and vegetables we eat actually trigger inflammation that can lead to cognitive decline. He went on to explain how something as innocent as drinking Diet Coke can lead to chronic inflammation, and how a recent study found people who drank at least 1 diet soda a day were 3 times as likely to have a stroke or develop dementia. I shuddered as I thought of all the Diet Cokes I guzzled down, thinking it was helping me lose weight. I wondered if there was a way to reverse the damage I might have already done. Finally, he said, there's the decline of BDNF as you age. And he explains how a Nobel Prize-winning discovery found this obscure little protein in your brain called BDNF. It is the real secret to staying young and mentally charged. How it's your own personal fountain of youth, and it's inside of you, right now. In fact, a leading Harvard psychiatrist and internationally recognized expert in neuropsychiatry calls it Miracle Grow for the brain. I could sense Daryl's passion spark up over the phone as he explained how almost everything to do with aging, memory, concentration, clarity, and even things like how good of a driver you are or how easy it is for you to make friends is controlled by this one master protein in your brain, brain-derived neurotrophic factor, or BDNF for short. And how, according to recent studies, blood levels of BDNF almost perfectly predict future risk for declining brain function as long as 10 years in the future. Think of BDNF as a high-performance protein powder that helps you build muscles at the gym, but for your brain. When BDNF levels are high, acquiring new knowledge is easy, memories are retained, and you feel energized, happy, and productive. Daryl paused to see if I was still paying attention. I shook my head, realizing how very little I actually knew about my brain. How could I have stayed so ignorant to something so important? I enthusiastically nodded for him to go on. I wanted to know more. Now, the bad news is that BDNF naturally declines with age, and the even worse news is that in some people, it declines much faster than normal. And since exercise plays a big part in the production of BDNF, it really is a vicious cycle. The more tired you are, the less you exercise, the more your BDNF plummets, and then even less you want to exercise. He then went on to explain how one of the top brain doctors in the world, who was treating him for his concussion syndrome, alerted him to the power of BDNF to support the health of his brain, and how he actually felt lucky for his concussions because without them, he would have never been awakened to the power of BDNF. Then he said, "I've been a science and research junkie my whole life. When you get diagnosed with MS in your 20s, it forces you into the world of medical research and learning to weed out the hype from the truth." He goes on to say, "So I immediately started digesting all the latest medical journals, articles, and scientific studies showing how the combination of high cortisol, chronic inflammation, and declining BDNF levels leave us vulnerable to not only neurodegenerative diseases, but also things like depression and fatigue, and how most of us aren't doing anything at all to combat this. Instead, we just chalk up feeling like crap to old age or lack of sleep." Then, in an almost hushed voice, he says, "And the craziest part of all is we naturally possess more rejuvenating and healing potential than we could ever need. Literally, enough to physiologically age in reverse. It's already within us, just waiting to be unleashed. And you can do so easily and naturally, overnight with a simple protocol I'm going to provide to you." Then he said, "Beth, in a few minutes, I want you to check your email and then follow the instructions I lay out exactly. It lays out exactly how much of each of these nutrients I want you to take every morning. You can still drink coffee, but limit yourself to 1 cup. Taking any one of these nutrients on their own will be mildly beneficial, yet you'll be absolutely amazed by the powerful synergistic effect you'll experience when you take each of them at the same time as I've instructed." I hung up the phone feeling exhausted, like I had just sat through chemistry class in college, but I splashed some water on my face and went over to my computer to read the email he sent. I'll admit, I was shocked at what was on the list, as I was expecting things like fish oil or ginkgo biloba, but Daryl explained that every ingredient listed serves a specific purpose, and if it wasn't on the list, it meant that there wasn't enough scientific evidence to take it. And how, after years of research, these were the only ingredients clinically proven to achieve the results he had promised. Some I had previously heard of, like organic turmeric root, which had been used for years to support a healthy inflammatory response. And since it's also been found to improve blood flow to the brain, it means less drowsy, yawning spells, increased alertness, and more stamina when you exercise, so you don't get winded so easily. Or 100 milligrams of grapeseed extract, one of the few antioxidants that can easily cross the blood-brain barrier and protect it against cellular and DNA damage to support the brain as we age. 250 milligrams of ashwagandha, an herb that has been used in India for centuries and has over 200 studies on its ability to decrease stress, cortisol, and anxiety while promoting a relaxed state so that you can think more clearly and avoid those embarrassing slip-ups that I'd become accustomed to. 250 milligrams of CDP choline, a form of acetylcholine that increases energy in the brain, naturally waking you up and improving your attention and ability to focus. In fact, studies show a boost in cognitive performance after just 28 days of taking it. And then the ingredient he was most excited to share with me: 100 milligrams of neurofactor, coffee fruit extract, which has been clinically shown to double the amount of BDNF in the bloodstream within 60 minutes of taking it. Remember, as Daryl explained, BDNF has been called miracle grow for the brain by top neuroscientists and allows our brain to continue growing and learning as we age. And then finally on the list was a group of polyphenol-rich fruits, vegetables, and berries. As he explained on the phone, what scientists discovered in case after case was that people who had a diet filled with bright-colored fruits and vegetables, which contained the highest levels of polyphenols, age the best by almost every single health marker, and have less visible signs of aging, reduced joint pain, less digestive discomfort, and healthy and firm skin, and have the most remarkable brain power. In fact, there were so many studies showing a positive effect of fruits like blueberries on cognitive health that they've actually been nicknamed brainberries. Polyphenols really are the key to unlocking the fountain of youth. But they must be organic to avoid the brain-damaging effects that pesticides cause over time. In the end, it was a completely unique list of 100% natural ingredients that work perfectly together to significantly enhance our clarity, focus, concentration, and mental energy, and in turn, immediately start to reverse all of the terrible problems I'd been experiencing. I took everything together an hour after waking up, exactly as instructed, and I even skipped my morning coffee just to see if I noticed any sort of difference in my energy levels. I'll admit I was a little skeptical, yet by lunchtime that day, I was amazed. I was alert, felt alive, vibrant, and full of energy, and felt sharper and full of hope for the very first time in a long time. I found myself wanting to exercise and actually enjoying it so much, my walks got longer and longer. So I wasn't surprised when I had lost a couple pounds by the end of the week. But that was nothing compared to how awake and alive I felt mentally. The cobwebs disappeared, and no matter who I was talking to, it seemed I knew exactly what to say. I even got up and gave a presentation at work in front of a room full of people without once stumbling over my words. My brain fog was gone. There was no more grasping for words. What was I going to say? Why did I open my fridge? My mental lapses were completely gone, and my focus and concentration finally returned. When I met up with Barbara later that week, she immediately said, "Beth, you look radiant." And I'll admit, when I saw my reflection in the mirror, I couldn't believe how much lighter I looked, not just because I had lost a few pounds. It was like a fog that had been surrounding me, had been finally lifted, and the bags under my eyes were gone, and I had a youthful glow that I hadn't seen in years. "What's your secret?" she said. I told her all about the protocol that Daryl had recommended, and at first I saw the disbelief in her eyes, but as she listened to me talk, I think even Barb the skeptic couldn't deny the brightness in my voice, the sharpness in the way I collected my thoughts as I spoke, and the energy and enthusiasm that was bursting out of me. "I want to try it," she said. She texted me 3 days later, and I can show you what she said, but it rhymes with holy mitt. Geez, I beat the computer in chess 3 times the other night. Does this stuff make you smarter? It certainly seems so, I explained, and that's how it got out at first. It spread around my little circle of friends, and then to their husbands who started trying it out. I'd hear stories about their golf games improving, clarity at work, more enjoyable and engaging conversations, even a few stories about improvement in the bedroom. After seeing how well it worked for myself, my friends, their husbands, and a handful of other people I shared it with, along with a slew of celebrities and athletes that Daryl had told me had used it. The next time I spoke with Daryl, I told him, "You have to get this out there. There are so many men and women out there who could benefit from it. From the extra spring in your step it gives you, the increased clarity, being in a better mood, and just not feeling so run down by stress and mental fatigue. You always say your mission is to create awareness around brain health. Well, this is how you do it." He agreed wholeheartedly with me, and I could tell he really wanted to help as many people as possible. Yet he explained how, although the formula is life-changing, there were 3 big problems. 1. Finding all these powerful nutrients from around the globe at the necessary quality, forms, and concentration is very difficult. 2. The cost to purchase all of them individually is ridiculously expensive. And 3. The massive inconvenience and time needed to precisely measure out and take each nutrient separately. He was right. I had almost given up with it at first simply because it was costing me a small fortune each month. And when I tried to find cheaper alternatives on Amazon, I quickly found out they provided far inferior results. I pleaded with him and told him if anyone could do it, it was him. He was connected with various doctors through his brain research initiatives and his time on the board of directors at the IES Brain Research Foundation. And he also had a close relationship with one of the largest and most trusted manufacturers of dietary supplements in the United States. This is your one chance to help all the men and women you weren't able to before, I said, and I'll help in any way I can to get the word out there, I promise. And he finally said yes. And then he leveraged all of his contacts and all of his experience. He sourced all of the necessary nutrients in bulk from the most vetted and trusted suppliers around the world, and worked with the most modern, top-tier manufacturing facility in the USA to crack the code and get everything into a single scoop. The first once-a-day drink clinically tested and proven to raise BDNF levels, boost your mood and feeling of well-being, increase clarity, focus, and concentration. You just take 1 scoop a day of the great-tasting berry formula, mix it with water, and wake up your brain so you feel more alert and alive, more excited to get back to activities you love, such as tennis, gardening, traveling, even riding your bike around the neighborhood. Daryl formed a company called Natural Cell, and within months had countless doctors, wellness centers, practitioners recommending his formula, which he calls Neuroactive 6, to their clients and patients. The results were more incredible than I even imagined. Here's what Kathy wrote in. My mood has become overall more elevated. I'm better able to focus at work, and the moment is, for lack of a better word, richer. Countless men and women writing in to say how they finally feel alive again, recharged with more energy, more focus, and more motivation to tackle chores, to exercise, which is why it was no surprise that many men and women noticed weight loss, improved sleep, and even a boost in their libido. And that's exactly why I'm so excited for you to be here today. I'm honored to introduce you to Neuroactive 6, the world's first and only clinically proven brain support nutritional protocol that helps the true cause of unexplained fatigue, lack of focus and clarity, and mental slowdown. Neuroactive 6 has a base of polyphenols, which absolutely had to be organic and had to include specific fruits and vegetables like blueberries, beets, acai, acerola, pomegranate, and 28 additional ingredients chosen for their unique anti-aging and fatigue-fighting abilities. And is the only product in the world that contains the 6 special nutrients in the exact amounts specifically proven to raise BDNF levels, boost your mood and feeling of well-being, increase brain activity, promote healthy inflammation levels. Neuroactive 6 is 100% all-natural, vegetarian, non-GMO, and completely safe, and clinically proven to have absolutely 0 side effects. And you'll be able to get access to this miraculous, health-transforming formula in less than 2 minutes. Like Justin, who wrote in to say, I feel like a part of my brain that has been broken for far too long is slowly being repaired. Or Diane, who wrote in to say, Neuroactive 6 began working almost immediately, not something I expected. Within 24 hours, I suddenly felt alert and clear-headed again, with far more energy. I've been able to work in the yard shoveling, pickaxing, raking, planting, and hauling, and then go out in the evening to cultural events. I've not felt this good in some years, and quite frankly, never expected to again. Life has simply gotten easier. If you are still watching this, if you felt yourself nodding along and wanting to feel like this, ask yourself, how much would it be worth to you to find yourself waking with new, exciting energy, ready to take on the world? How much would it be worth to find yourself more productive and focused at work, to be able to keep up with your children or grandchildren without feeling completely exhausted? To have the increased willpower to exercise and eat healthy, the motivation to explore new hobbies, and the peace of mind to sleep well at night? $10,000? $20,000? $50,000? Could you really even put a number on it? Well, don't worry. You're going to experience all of this for nowhere near what you're thinking or what you'd happily pay. When Daryl finalized this formula, his biggest fear was that because it contained such high-end trademarked ingredients, it could one day become too expensive to produce and offered to the public at a reasonable price. So instead of putting it in stores, he decided to go on a different route. He decided to deliver to the customer and cut out the middleman. It's the only way he can maintain his stringent quality standards and get you the patented, clinically tested, most bioavailable version of every ingredient at a price that's affordable. That's why they're not going to ask for $599, which was recommended to them, or half of that, because Neuroactive 6 is your best chance for improving your brain fog and energy levels, and it is something that can support your brain both now and far into the future, so that you fully enjoy life well into your 60s, 70s, and 80s. You won't have to worry about giving up your independence or becoming a burden on your kids. So even though if you were to purchase the individual ingredients alone, all the various fruits and vegetables it contains, you'd be spending well over $297 a month. Right now today, you can get a 1-bottle 30-day supply of Neuroactive for a simple one-time fee of just $49. Yes, just $49. Here's the best part. The clarity, focus, and boost in energy continue to grow over time. This is because while the brain-enhancing ingredients go to work right away, it could take at least a few weeks to realize their full potential. Remember, these are ingredients that balance cortisol levels, support healthy inflammation levels, raise BDNF levels, and support brain cells. While you get an immediate boost after your first glass and feel great, your brain will need time to be fully revitalized. That's why even after you notice Neuroactive 6 lifting your brain fog, improving your concentration and alertness, you'll still want to give it more time to support your brain. That's why so many doctors and nutritionists recommend choosing at least 3 bottles of Neuroactive 6 to their patients. And then take it for at least 90 days or more. That way you can be absolutely positive you're doing everything possible to experience a high-functioning brain and maximum energy levels. So, to guarantee the most impactful, life-changing results, Daryl and his team are going to let you order 90 days worth of Neuroactive or 180 days worth today at astounding one-time discounts, which will save you even more money on top of today's special low pricing. Furthermore, rest assured this is a one-time payment. There are no hidden charges or subscription fees whatsoever. I've always hated that stuff as much as you do. So provided Neuroactive 6 is still in stock, you'll see a table appear below this video with 3 money-saving options for you to choose from. Select your package and then click the Add to Cart button to proceed to the 256-bit secure order page that looks like this. Then fill in your order information and confirm your order to our 100% safe and secure order form, and they'll get your package sent directly to your door right away. And listen, because they're so confident that you'll experience more profound, life-changing results than literally anything you've ever purchased before, they are not just promising the results. They are going to completely guarantee them. They are giving you a 60-day, no questions asked, 100% money-back guarantee to make getting started an absolute no-brainer for you. If trying Neuroactive 6 doesn't turn out to be the best decision you've ever made, or if you change your mind for any reason whatsoever, just let them know anytime in the next 60 days and they'll refund you the purchase price right away. Within just a few days, you'll feel exciting changes in energy levels, mental performance, and mood. You'll probably also discover you no longer find yourself needing caffeine. Many claim that they feel a renewed get-up-and-go to tackle chores or explore hobbies, and increased willpower to exercise and eat healthy. Their sex drive goes up as you feel younger and more vibrant. I can't tell you exactly when it will happen. It may be in a few days or it could take a few weeks, but it certainly will happen. It's something I call the magic moment. The magic moment is when you wake up one day and realize that something is different. Your thoughts feel much clearer. Your memory seems crisp and vivid. You're more alert, centered, and on. Your anxiousness and irritability have washed away. Your mood has soared, and you feel just like everything is right. It's a feeling you can't really put a price on. Neuroactive 6 is your ticket to having a vibrant and active life well into your 60s, 70s, and 80s. Do you really want to go through life getting by? Do you want to spend your golden years too tired to stay active or exercise? No willpower to curb cravings. How often have you wanted to do something, but just the thought of it makes you tired, and you just decided that it would be easier to relax on the couch? Again, how much longer do you want to lack the motivation to get back to hobbies and activities that you truly enjoy? Fortunately, there's an easy way to fight back against brain fatigue and get back to doing all the things you love. Simply take 1 scoop of great-tasting Neuroactive 6 daily with 8 to 12 ounces of water. Isn't it time you gave yourself the gift of a balanced, nourished, properly functioning brain and strong, vibrant energy levels that keeps you feeling your best and living the long, healthy, joyful life you deserve? Click the link below now and give Neuroactive 6 a try. With this risk-free offer, you have nothing to lose. I really hope you take action now and join us.